Welcome. We have a whole new series of shows, and this time we're going to talk about a three varies controversial player in Trey Lance. I know the people know what I think about Trey Lance. It's not so good, but we'll have to see. There's a lot to talk about. So, Conan, I know you had the idea to do this show. You might regret it. We'll see. But what do you want to say about Trey Lance?
Yeah. So, this segment specifically, we wanted to bring a player that for a rebuilding team would be someone to target. And so Trey Lance was just a name I thought of where, he's currently going as the quarterback 21 on a site like Keep Trade Cut. The quarterbacks above him, directly above him, are Jordan Love, Geno Smith, Kenny Pickett. And I get that Trey Lance's job is not secure in any way. The team still says, Purdy might be ready week 1. He's our starter if he's ready. I understand all those things, but just kind of compared to some of these other guys above him in ranking, I just think there's some value to be had if he does get that start.
Value? There's no value. By the way, I have him at quarterback 25. So, and I think that's too high. Yeah, I think that's too high. Value? There's no value. I wrote it on the show sheet, and maybe the YouTube will not like this, but I think I would rather jump in a vat of acid and become the Joker rather than have Trey Lance on my Dynasty team. We can't have that because there's going to be an infestation of failure, and we don't want that. I already have enough failure in my life over the years. I can't have more failure, and he is big failure because the 49ers have made it very clear that they're tired of Trey Lance. They're tired. They've tried to trade him away. We know that the Titans tried to trade for him. The Falcons tried to trade for him. And I'll say one more thing, and then we can get back to Conan's very exciting statistics. I'm very interested to hear what those are. But the last first-round quarterback who washed out, as in did not secure their original starting job to succeed is... Oh, no, wait, there aren't any. 0. None. Never happened. If you want me to be generous, it's been a long time. I couldn't even think of one. I looked. There aren't any. Most of the people in that profile are Dwayne Haskins is on that list. Josh Rosen, Paxton Lynch. These are the types of players who don't win their starting job and then end up washing out. They don't succeed ever. Johnny Manziel, also on that list.
Not a great list.
Not a good list. Some of those players had hype at their new destination, including Rosen in Miami, I would say was the one. When he went to Miami, he still had hype. He still had believers. I was saying, at that time, I was like, oh, yeah, maybe. I learned my lesson the last time. Not doing it a second time. He was a pretty good prospect, Josh Rosen. Just didn't work out. I think Trey Lance was a fine prospect. People do revisionist history on him. They say that he was bad. He wasn't a bad prospect, but just because he wasn't a bad prospect doesn't mean he's going to work out in the NFL. I care more about the NFL track record, and right now it's not so good. But anyway, let's go to let's go to some more things. I see some more things here.
Yeah, no, I think I think the biggest thing that it hinges on is obviously just Purdy versus Trey Lance. Where is Purdy going to be ready? How is he going to look post-injury, post-surgery, stuff like that? And I think that's really the biggest part, where there's just a lot of uncertainty. It's a mystery. We don't know. Yes, if he's healthy, he's our starter. We've heard that. But we don't know if he's actually going to be healthy, if he's actually going to be ready to start week 1. And I've always thought, I've always had a saying, a little motto, where in fantasy football works perfectly. It's uncertainty breeds value. It's the breeding ground for value. And what that means is it's just every year we see it at all different positions, not just quarterback and not just positional battles where we don't know who the actual starter will be. We see it every year where we don't know who's going to have that starting hand, who's going to have the upper hand, and we're usually wrong. And I just want to take more shots at situations.
You think we're usually wrong? I don't think we're usually wrong. It's actually a great, interesting thing to bring up. So almost always, we're actually almost not wrong. A lot of the time, the value is actually with the one being drafted higher. That's actually an interesting thing that comes up. A lot of times, especially when picking between running backs or quarterbacks, we actually have it right. And the uncertainty breeds value because we're not confident enough in the one we project higher.
Yeah. No, I think I misspoke where not wrong, but it's there. The value is there every year. We see it. We miss on something where someone has way more value, but we were just scared. We didn't know
No,
exactly what's
you
going
had it
on.
right. Uncertainty does breed value. You had it right. I just disagree in that a lot of times going in on the favorite is the way you get. People are scared of like Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is someone who in redrafts is going to go too low because he's to me is still the favorite, but people are going to downgrade him too much. That's a situation. Too much downgraded. Oftentimes going in on the favorite is actually about DK Metcalf, same team. It's another one in redraft I think is going to be undervalued because people are like the shiny new toy more than they should in redraft. In Dynasty, I love it, but it's something I don't know. I would not be very in on Trey Lance. But go ahead.
No, I mean, and so the next step was I just kind of wanted to look at, Brock Purdy, see how he did. Kind of obviously he had a stretch of just 6 straight games with 2 touchdowns. So I wanted to kind of look into that. And it was in games against Miami, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Washington, Vegas, Arizona. Did any of those teams scare you at all? Would you say any of those are tough defensive matchups for a quarterback?
There are some easy ones.
Maybe one
There's some easy ones
tougher matchup, but mostly easy matchups. And then, we get to the playoffs. He cooks Seattle again, as we know. And then he had his real test. He had a real test against Dallas. And what did Dallas do? I think they exposed his athletic inability where he did look like he knew what's up. He didn't look like he could lead this offense. And I'm not trying to crap on Brock Purdy. He was Mr. Irrelevant and led his team to the NFC Championship game. So it's not to say he didn't have a great year. He had a great year in terms of being a rookie, being the last pick in the draft. But it's one of those things where I think the team invested a lot of capital into Trey Lance. Yes, that doesn't mean they're never gonna give up on him. But I do think that it means that just that high draft capital, it's going to mean that he's getting a few chances. Obviously it hasn't worked out for some of these guys, but how many chances has Baker and Darnold and Wilson, even on his own team, how many different chances has he gotten? Like they've all gotten chance after chance with their same team, with a new team. Obviously it hasn't worked out for vast majority of them. As you listed those names.
Vast majority. It hasn't worked out for any of them. Not
any of them.
Zero.
Okay. Fair enough.
Worked out for zero. So it's tough.
Just like that he's gonna, but I think he's gonna still get the chance. And I do think as a an athletic player and just a prospect, like I think he's there to be able to do something. Whether it's another chance in San Francisco, if he gets another chance in San Francisco, I think we all know Kyle Shanahan, like just what he can do with a mediocre even quarterback. So I just want to take that shot.
Yeah, I'm good.
No.
I mean, it's funny. Trey Lance's ADP has actually returned to reality. He was like a top 3 round startup pick for most of the offseason. Now we finally have returned to reality. I love it. He is now actually right around where I rank him in DLS ADP. QB 25, 70 overall. It's almost dead on my ranking. Brock Purdy's actually higher. Quarterback 24, 1 spot higher. But I will say, I don't actually want Brock Purdy at his price. I think that the 49ers are in what we call a false equivalency. Brock Purdy's better than Trey Lance. And I think Brock Purdy's going to eventually drive Trey Lance out of town because they're going to have to decide on the 5th-year option. I don't think they're going to pick it up. And then Trey Lance is going to be gone. But I don't think that Brock Purdy is really a franchise quarterback either. The reason in Dynasty I actually still have Trey Lance ranked higher is because if I'm wrong about Trey Lance, he has rushing upside. He has the ability to be a very high-end Dynasty asset. Brock Purdy's ceiling is what? Kirk Cousins' career. I mean, that's really good, but that's probably the ceiling.
But
that's probably generous. I don't even think he's that good. So
No.
I like Brock Purdy. I think he's a good player, but for fantasy, it's a little different. I don't hate Trey Lance at the current cost. However, here's why I'm not buying him. I am, unlike you, confident that Brock Purdy is going to be ready week 1. Everything that they've said is that Brock Purdy is going to be ready. The new doctor's reports have said he's going to be ready August. If he's ready, he's going to play. There are many beat reports out of San Francisco. It's Trey Lance doesn't look good enough. He doesn't look good enough. He doesn't look good enough. Brock Purdy is the guy. Brock Purdy is the guy. They say it over and over and over again. Maybe they're serious. I don't know. After the 100th time, maybe I believe them. I do believe them. That's the thing. I do believe them. So if Brock Purdy starts, Trey Lance's value is going to go down again. A lot. And in that case, why buy now? I don't want to draft him in redraft. If he doesn't start, what am I going to do? Hold on to a quarterback who's not playing in redraft? I don't think so. In Dynasty, why would I want to buy him now? When he doesn't start week 1, his value is going to go down even more. It's going to go down like 2 rounds more. He's not going to be ranked 70th overall if he's sitting on the bench again. That's not going to happen. He's going to be ranked lower. So then I might consider it at a bargain basement price. I'm fine with it. But right now, I think he's going to continue to go down in value more likely than not. Because I think 80, 90% Brock Purdy's good to go, and 100% healthy Brock Purdy starts. To me, that's 100%. So it's a question of whether he's healthy, and that is rising in percentage to me, not falling. So I still think Trey Lance is priced too high. That's why I'm not in.
I think those are good points. But I think people definitely overemphasize or just put too much importance on Trey Lance's performances so far in the very few games he's played. In 2021, he played 2.5 games, basically just 2 full games, 50% of one game. And then in 2022, last year, he played one just monsoon of a game where they were doing, just belly flops and sliding around on the water. That. It was a fun scene, but it was not very good weather for a football game, especially for someone that's supposed to, throw the ball. And then he obviously got injured right away. So in total, we're looking at 3.5 games that he's actually really played. And so I wanted to just kind of look at just his averages, what he kind of did in those just, 3.5 games. Tiny sample size, I understand. But so I was looking, 217 pass yards per game in those 3.5 games. So coincidentally, Brock Purdy in his 6-game stretch where he had 2 touchdowns every single week to end the year last year, he was averaging 218, 1 yard more, which is, I thought that was kind of funny. But then we get to the actual good stuff. The reason why I'm willing to take the shot is the rushing volume, his mobility, his athletic just skill, his capability, where he is in those 3.5 games, he had 12.6 rush attempts per game. And so if we're looking at, last year, the leaders in rush attempts per game at the quarterback position, it was Jalen Hurts with 11 and Justin Fields at 10.7. So, again, tiny sample size, but that would have led the league in just attempts per game that he's played. And then we look at the actual rush yards that he got, and he's at 61.4. And that's, per game. And in 2022, if we look at the same leaders, Fields obviously had a great year, 76.2 yards, rushing yards per game. And then we go down, it's Lamar, 63.7, Hurts, 50.7. So he would have basically been somewhere in the top 3-4 of rushing yards per game. And so, like you said, it's about fantasy, It's not about real life. When we're playing these guys in our lineups, doesn't matter sometimes it does not matter how good they actually are, but if they're going to give us points. And so I'm just willing to take this shot where, if he does get the chance, I think his ceiling is very much up there in terms of he just has that rushing mobility. And so, even just, those 3.5 games, he had 215 rushing yards in just those 3.5 games. That was more than all but just 14 quarterbacks had just in all of last year. And so I just think the ceiling is just very high in terms of if he gets a chance. I know it's a big if, right? A lot of things that we've heard so far tells us that if isn't possible, that if isn't there because it's not going to happen. I get that. But we buy low, and if you want to wait until he gets even lower, okay, I understand. But we buy low and we just take the shot where if he does some way, somehow find a way into starting, I mean, I think we're looking at a lot of good things. Even if he doesn't look like a great football player, I think he's going to be using his legs a lot.
Yeah, I would say that just tough. Just tough. If he doesn't get back in, then the odds of him having a successful career, he would be the first. And I don't see it. I
That's
just don't
fair.
see it. I think it's just one of those. I think we're going to look back on him as a what could have been.
Mm,
That's what I
that's
think we're going
fair.
to see. I don't, I do think people are too hard. I hear people saying that he sucks. I don't think that he sucks. I just think that Brock Purdy, they got lucky. Brock Purdy was discovered out of nowhere. He ended up being better. In my opinion, he's better. And for real life, and you want to play the better real life quarterback, Trey Lance is going to have to go elsewhere. And I just think it might not happen. Disruptions to the start of your career usually are bad for quarterbacks. And
Mhm.
then I don't know. I'll pass.
That's
But
fair.
yeah, no, I appreciate everyone for watching this video. I hope it was exciting. And we have a lot more videos to come in this series. So I hope you like those when they come out. But until next time, I will see you all later.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.